Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are not only big fans of collectibles, pop culture, and more, we are also theme park fans, as some of you may know. You may remember our previous video talking about the brand new Epic Universe here in Orlando that just opened up. But we wanted to do another video talking about the theme parks because we have some cast members, team members, and just fans of theme parks in general. Then we'd like to do our wish list, if you will, or blue sky, whatever you want to call it, of what we'd like to see coming soon, hopefully, to Universal Studios Orlando as well as Walt Disney World. So let's get started. Universal Orlando specifically. Now, obviously, they just opened up their brand new theme park, Epic Universe, but we're opening the floor to any of their parks: Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, Epic, probably not Volcano Bay, but if you have something from Volcano Bay, feel free. But
I didn't think about that.
yeah,
That'd be funny.
but
Complete retheme. No.
let's start with Ashlyn for this one. Now, what would be your idea for something new for Universal as a whole?
Well, we know now that Epic exists that Universal has a lot of, work to do on their existing parks that have been here for 25, 30 years and have
35 for Universal Studios.
Yeah, so yeah, they've been here a long time and they're starting to get kind of decrepit. They need some new life, new IPs.
Don't pull your punches, Ashley.
Are you talking about me or Universal?
Let's do this. I didn't do this at the top, and I should.
Oh, yeah.
I both work for Disney and Universal. We do not speak for the company or the brand. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, we've gotten new things, right? Like patchwork here and there, but overall, I think we can all genuinely agree that Universal Studios in general is suffering and lacking a lot when it comes to that overall park. So it's definitely things that the company is looking into as they've, built Epic and they want to bring the existing parks to that standard. And that just always means bringing in new IP and new blood and new attractions. I mean, they've done a few things here and there, and that's overall and great, but we need new properties, new things to get guests back into these old parks so that the whole world isn't over at Epic all the time. So my idea for, even though I said USF, I think there's a really cool spot in IOA that's been neglected for a really long time, which is Islands of Adventure. And that would be the Lost Continent. It's, we lost,
Poseidon's Fury.
Poseidon's Fury. Last year, Sinbad's theater's been empty for, God, I don't know, like 5+ years now, easily, maybe 10. So this whole area of the park that's really great when you walk through the entrance and you've got all the theming and everything there. And then you kind of come back into that theming at Lost Continent and there's just nothing there. You've got Mythos.
The greatest theme park restaurant in history.
Once upon a time. And then other than a couple of shops that all kind of have like a mistaken identity, and you've got a quick service and the talking fountain that everybody loves, and that's about it. There's nothing going on there.
So you're forgetting about the sidewalk to the Velocicoaster, the main attraction of that land now.
Yeah.
The cut through.
A cut through, yes.
So what's your idea to make this spot better?
So to bring new life into that whole area, my thought is to do a complete retrofit and do Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think it's something that would fit very well there. It's a property that is extremely well loved by its fan base. It's honestly a pretty easy tie-in with the architectural style and things like that. You could 100% do all the 4 nations and have attractions for each of them. And I don't think it would be that hard to retrofit over the top of the existing architecture that they have there now. And you could have an Appa meet and greet with Appa and Aang. And of course, the other characters, they could just come out and kind of do what they do now with, I think it's, what is it? I like to move it guy from is it Madagascar? Yeah, the meerkat guy, King Julian, like comes out in a Jeep and it makes no sense. Like there's nothing Madagascar there. But for some reason, in the middle of the Lost Continent, which has nothing to do with Madagascar, there's just a weird dance party with flippin' lemur from Madagascar there. So you could totally utilize that space and do the character meet and greets with all the, Zuko, Aang, Katara, Sokka, the whole group. Would it be really cool to have a whole meet and greets with all those characters and everything like that? You could have overlay mythos, which let's be honest, is needed an update for quite a while, and make that some sort of like, I don't know, you could do like a Fire Nation restaurant or something, or, just anything. And like make one of the stands a cabbage, like the cabbages stand would be super funny. And like,
I love cabbage.
Yeah. Obviously not selling real cabbage.
Hey, cabbage is the most popular dish at like a lot of dim sum places. It tastes really good.
Yeah. So I think it's a really cool concept. There's so much you can do with it. All the different lands that you could do represented. Definitely could do a show if they wanted to in the theater, or just completely scrap the theater and just do multiple attractions. There's just a lot you could do with it.
For sure.
A show would be awesome.
For the for at least one of the, whether it's the quick service or the full service, if they do one in there, Flamio Hotman,
Does the
obviously have to do the jasmine tea for Uncle Iroh?
Oh yeah,
like, you have to have a tea shop.
100%. Steven, what were you gonna say?
Does Nickelodeon own that franchise?
So technically,
and they do. Paramount. Yeah, Paramount and Universal does have a pretty good seemingly has a pretty good relationship with Paramount.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In terms of
anything's possible in that regard, because like you said, they have tie-ins with like Paramount and Warner Brothers and a bunch of different companies and stuff like that. Steven, what is your pitch for Universal?
Oh gosh, by saying the word Paramount, I was like, oh shoot, Paramount owns South Park, and I was like, maybe I'm pivoting. Maybe we're getting rid of The Simpsons and putting South Park.
No.
South Park would never translate, but it would be awesome if they could. But really, anytime I think about Universal Studios, it's one of two places at Islands of Adventure, which is kind of weird because most people say that like the studio side is most in need, right? I disagree. I think that the most in need is Islands, because you have two whole sections. Three if you count Marvel. If you're some people love it, some people don't. But Marvel, Toon Lagoon, and Lost Continent are all kind of struggling for identity and to attract people. But the one that I keep coming back to is Toon Lagoon. I think they've got two great rides that don't really need to go anywhere. There's space if you want to eat up some retail and some dining locations. You can kind of to get some space back. Plus, we have that big theater. For those that don't know, between Marvel and Toon Lagoon, there's a big event theater that they never use for anything other than like private events or like cheer competitions. I think they've used it for a few times. That's a lot of real estate that could go to rides, and you could put anything here with a soft theme that's not a cool. Like SpongeBob would be great there. You could take over that space by Marvel. If Disney allowed, they would never. But if they allowed the expansion, Marvel could move that way, and you could just retrofit things. You do Namor ride. Anything's possible. But what I think is the best idea for right now, and has proof of concept overseas, and I think we're moving towards this, is One Piece. One Piece is now we're into its 25th year as a franchise. It's growing in popularity. Oda has outsold some huge literary names in terms of the manga. Like it's the adoption. It's never been more popular, and Universal has dabbled for a couple years now with doing One Piece overseas. And now, just at the Fan Fest events they had meet and greets for the Straw Hat Pirates. I think it is a no-brainer to retrofit Toon Lagoon into a One Piece land. There's so many things you could do, like the restaurant, it's a Bartier, it's a floating restaurant. It would look awesome in the lagoon, like a restaurant you could walk out into, similar to the restaurant at Disney Springs. I always want to say boathouse, but it's not boathouse. It's a
Paddlefish.
paddlefish. So it's like it could look, it's not actually a boat in the water. It's a restaurant. It's like made to look like that, but they could do something like that. The rides could just be retrofitted to be One Piece. There's really not, like, Luffy's in a barrel in the beginning of the manga, beginning of the anime, and the live action. So you could re-theme Popeyes to be like barrels, and you're going through certain scenes. I think it would really appeal. I think it's a good, if the timing is right to do it. I could see Universal being worried about longevity of the IP in the States, but we get so many international tourists that have loved these characters for so many years, and it's been growing and growing and growing in popularity so much. I think it really does make the most sense. From the retail standpoint, character meet and greets, variety of characters, like it's just, the depths would be massive. And at some point, if you decide, hey, Kong really is the redheaded stepchild of, not to offend any redheaded stepchildren, but if Kong's kind of like not working between those two, Kong could be consumed by Jurassic Park, or it could be consumed by One Piece. And you have two very strong IPs that could take over that space, and you could retrofit that ride. There's so many possibilities. They're already building that relationship with Oda. They're already building that merchandise. They're testing the waters. No pun intended. I think we're about to see them make a big move. And to Ashlyn, I think our ideas kind of bookend each other pretty well. To, like, where does Universal go in general in the future? Like, what's the next thing they can do? And I think it's really capturing that, at least like the casual anime fan market.
Yeah, for sure.
And they've been doing that for years with, like, Attack on Titan experiences. Oh man, I think they did some with Spy Family not too long ago. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I think it's a good move. I think it's a good strategic move. Second only to if they could figure out their Lord of the Rings rights issue they have. But yeah, One Piece. I think One Piece in the parks is the way to go, especially in that area.
Andrew,
I think you're muted, Andrew.
Of course I am. Both really good answers for that. Originally, I was going to go with the whole Legend of Zelda thing, but there's already been plenty of talk about that. There's hints of it in the new park, and whether it ends up at the new park or if it ends up at Lost Continent, which I think is like a no-brainer in that regard. I'm going to pivot and actually do something a little bit different. So, Steven, you and I have talked about this a few different times, but Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Let's stick with the casual anime fan stuff. Pokemon, 100% needs to happen. There's little things overseas that they're doing. There might not be full-fledged rides and maybe experiences yet, but they've got tie-ins with the parks overseas. And now I'm going to do Universal Studios because, I know Ashton talked about it needs work. I know Steven has some different opinions, but I agree with Ashton that it's a park that at the moment feels not so much that it's out of time. It's more just like it's a lost identity. And I'm not saying this is going to fix that because you're adding a brand new identity, but take over for Simpsons, basically from where the animal show is, go all the way back to Men in Black. You can keep the stage because I know it gets used for multiple things. You can incorporate that stage.
Are we taking Men in Black?
I'm sorry?
Are you taking Men in Black in this
Yes.
concept? Oh, okay.
gone. So from animal actors all the way back. Maybe animal actors become something different for DreamWorks Land because I know that's right there. I wouldn't be mad at that.
That's a good idea.
But let's so in that argument, let's switch it to just all of Simpsons area all the way back through Men in Black. You can keep the stage there. You could incorporate it to the Pokemon thing because you could very easily do a Pokemon show. I would say in that stage for any time of year that's not Halloween because obviously we know they do Halloween stuff there. But all that whole back corner of Universal Studios could very easily become an entire Pokemon world. Have like a Pokemon center that you can go into and like maybe there's a gym type of thing. I'm not exactly sure what kind of like ride or experience everything. I'm not going to go that deep into it. Like I said, Steve and I have had many a discussion about this, but I'm going to try to keep it condensed as much as I possibly can. There honestly, that's the thing. There's so many things that you can do with a Pokemon IP that I think would translate to the theme parks very well. A lot of things that both of my panelists mentioned, meet and greets, like pick a Pokemon. You got people that are going to want to do meet and greets, and you can do the same thing with the characters. If you have someone that looks like Ash or Misty or Brock or whatever type of thing, you can do those as well. Or if for some reason, I know kind of like Funko they only have the video game IP. They don't have the cartoon IP, which is why we've never seen Funkos for the human characters and stuff like that. Even if it was a similar thing where you're only able to get the things that relate to the video game, that's not that big a deal if we don't have the like human characters. You'll still be able to have things like Nurse Joy and Professor Oak and stuff like that. So there's still ways to do it regardless of the version of IP that they get, in my opinion. And as we've seen, if they wanted to, even though I think it should be kind of like a CGI, cartoon hybrid type of deal as far as like any sort of ride or experience type of thing that with screens or whatever, we have seen that it works in a live action standpoint in like the Pikachu movie. So if they wanted to go that route as far as for the rides and experiences, we know that can work as well. Just kind of use the concepts that they built upon with that and turn that into like what you use for the rides. As far as if you want to bring them to the real world, we now know that can be done pretty damn well, in my opinion. I thought they did a really solid job with that. So yeah, that would be my part for Universal Studios, because like I said, it could use a lot of help, and I think that's something that could build so much revenue. Like you said, like the One Piece thing is a lot of revenue. Pokemon would be stupid revenue for Universal Studios. Merchandising galore, because obviously Pokemon merchandise is just everywhere, and don't even get me started on the whole cards situation we got right now. That's a whole other can of worms.
Did you guys know that in terms of like brand value, Pokemon right now is bigger than Disney in terms of brand value?
I would
specifically like it's crazy. Andrew, commenting question.
Mm-hmm.
I think a Jungle Cruise ride, type ride would work really well with Pokemon. I think it'd be awesome. Like
dude, Pokemon
jungle,
Snap,
desert,
Pokemon Snap.
It would be amazing. It would just be amazing. Question: do you have any? I know you're trying to keep it high level, but one of the big things with Pokemon obviously is merchandising, and I'm sure like it kind of like creates itself. Like you do timed limited edition cards that you only get at Universal, and everyone's freaking out about them and whatnot. But what about like, I know the three of us, we were a little I don't want to say disappointed, it would be the wrong word, because nothing was disappointing about Epic Universe, but the merchandise was not everything it could have been. What would you do for a Pokemon merchandise exclusive to Universal?
Well, okay, so here's the first thing I would do, and this is kind of like sidestepping your question, but I'm going to say Universal Studios has its own official Pokemon Center store. That's number one. As far as like exclusive Pokemon merch, that's a little bit tougher. I think I probably have to think about that a little bit, but I think the easiest way to one, make sure that you're doing the right type of merchandise, and it's already kind of exclusive merchandise because it's Pokemon Center. You have an official store like you see overseas with the Pokemon centers in like Japan and stuff like that, but have it inside the park. Holy crap, would that thing do gangbusters?
So let me ask you. So clarifying question.
Yeah.
The Pokemon Center that they have overseas are like have tons of merchandise. They're very well themed stores, but they're not the Pokemon centers over there are not themed after the Pokemon centers in the game.
I know, and
they're just very. So is your Pokemon Center concept, is that a store or is it themed to the Pokemon Center with merchandise in it?
So that's where it gets a little confusing. So I'm talking Pokemon Center, the store, and it's a merchandise shop. Then you could do, maybe you don't call it a Pokemon Center, but you have like the Nurse Joy, like, Pokemon centers type of thing, but just don't label Pokemon Center on the outside for that. It just has like the symbol and the little health cross and something like that, and because that's what those are in the cartoons and the games and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. Not to get too much in the weeds with it, but there's like 5 or 6 locations. Like if you wanted to do the themed Pokemon Center in the park, that you could like take your stuffed animal to and get them like fixed by an actress playing your
Build a bear.
There's 5 or 6 exactly. There are 5 or 6 places in City Walk. I think if you put a Pokemon Center, like an official Japanese style Pokemon Center there, you'd never be able to park at the parking garage ever again. You would be like, it would be like everyone's like, going to the Pokemon Center? Nope, get out of here. Can't go.
Yeah. Well, eventually,
I love your idea.
Could, like devil's advocate, it goes through, right? Because this is a concept that's been talked about that people say they want.
Inevitable, really, right?
But they could literally put that where the Epic Preview Center is now in City Walk.
Well, and
they could.
The only reason I'm saying I'm 100% with y'all. Like I would have said, put the store in City Walk. However, here's my thing, because obviously City Walk needs some work as well, and that would be a huge revenue thing for City Walk. But to your point, Stephen, it creates a problem within City Walk and everything like that. Whereas if it's inside Universal Studios, even if it's on the edge of the Pokemon world, people are going to buy fucking tickets just to get in for that store, man. Like, yeah. I know that's
you're not impressing your bosses and getting those people in the door. You're impressing. Andrew's like, I just want to remind everyone, I'm an employee at Universal, and I believe the company should get every ticket. They should be if you're not buying a ticket, you shouldn't be allowed to shop here. You shouldn't be allowed to park or exist near the park. That being said, it's fair enough. That's a good point.
Fly overseas just to go to I mean, they do other stuff while they're there, but there's literally people that I follow that are like, one of my number one reason I came to Japan was to make sure I could hit up a couple of Pokemon centers and stuff like that. So I'm just saying that's one of those things.
Yeah.
You some people paid thousands of dollars to travel overseas to do it. Some people are going to spend, a couple $100 to get into a theme park. See, not only are they going to get to go to the Pokemon Center store, but they'll actually get to experience the entire Pokemon world. But I don't want to bog us down too much with this. Like I said, this is a big can of worms type of concept. There's a lot that can be talked about with this.
The only thing I want to see is like you get the first 4 starters, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is your experience, is you pay or whatever to go through, and it's like picking your Hogwarts house, right? Like
a
it's
wand
just
experience.
Starter Pokemon.
Ashlyn, that's genius. Like replicate the Ollivanders experience. You'd have to do it with less children, but you can do it in a smaller room. You keep the Doc Brown actors employed as Professor Oak, so those guys aren't losing their job. That is so we obviously we're not reinventing the wheel here. People have speculated about this and talked about it, but I have yet to hear. Maybe someone else thought of it, but I've yet to hear that. I think that's brilliant. Like you bring the little kid up there, and they pick, and you ask them, "Oh, do you like flowers, or do you like fire, or water, or whatever?" And you give, and like somehow. There's got to be some cool way, like they get to keep the Pokeball, and it interacts with everything in the land. Like you touch it on stuff, and it interacts. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say, and here's a look at Ashlyn punching every child out of the way to get that experience or something. I'm going first.
Oh, that's a given. This woman right here, she would pick her Pokemon. She would get her starter.
That's right.
Little Susie and little Billy, they can F right off.
That's right. This
But
poor
then,
woman
see,
took.
we're the ones that are going to run interference for her. We're the ones that are going to get embarrassed because we're going to be blocking the children. No, you stay over there.
This
This is
poor
a
woman.
long.
How many times did it take you to get the Ollivanders thing, babe? 5 times?
I think it was 4.
4 times. So my first time ever going in that I can remember, I got picked, and she was
young man.
she wasn't there that day, and I'll just try and make the story really quick. So I get picked. I go through the whole wand thing. If you've never done it, there's a whole interactive feature to it. And at the very end, when you find your wand, the light drops down, the wind goes, and when that moment happens, because I knew what was going to happen, I go, I have the power, like that. The dude was not happy with me at all. The actor was so pissed about me doing that. But Ashlyn easily 4 or more times trying to be the one that gets picked, because only one person gets picked every go around, and she would get mad every time, because there would be times where it's like an adult a guy like me, but more like that really doesn't give a shit about what's happening and has no idea. He just kind of wandered in there. We'd seen that a couple
That was
of times.
so upsetting.
That she gets so mad. But let's move.
Which is one, I've told you guys about Jasenia getting picked, like the first time we ever went in there, right?
I think so.
And it was Jasenia and a bunch of kids, and they picked Jasenia to do it. And she's like, she literally said to the actor, don't you want to pick one of the kids? And the actor goes, I swear to God, goes, the wand is chosen you, or like he said you had been like they in that voice. And she's done it. And one time I did it because we went in there, it was just like the three of us, like 3 people, because it was really slow for some reason. And I had never experienced it from beginning to end. And they handed me the wand, and the teenager that like walked through, because you go through a door, and depending on which one you're at, you go through a door to the next area. And he literally was like out of a movie or The Simpsons. He goes, if you want to purchase your wine, it's $24.99. Like giving me the spiel like about buying the wine as we're walking through, and I'm like, you can't write that, or like they do write. I'm saying they do write it. Like it's like Krusty Land. Like it's like how they joke about it in Simpsons World. He's like, if you want to purchase your wine and own it, and the wine shows you, so it's really special, so you should get it. And there's like 50 of each one on the thing for the birthdays and stuff. And I'm like, sure, I'll buy it. He's like, great, you're now a wizard. Awesome. Like he could, and it's like, I'm serious. I've never experienced that. Most people are really into it, as you guys know. He's like, all right, here's your receipt for your wand. Go cast a spell or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, he didn't say that, but that was how it was. I'm like,
the energy he was giving.
What a magical experience. And I'm like, I kind of wanted to let him know that I wasn't super into it, so that he didn't think that he was having to put on for me. Maybe I was putting out, I don't care about my letter energy. But anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. So now that we've done Universal, let's jump over to Walt Disney World. Again, we're focusing on right here in Orlando. So Walt Disney World, we got multiple parks to choose from on that. So you can go with what you feel. Let's start with Steven this time. What would be your idea for the next thing for Disney?
Oh man, so Disney's announced a lot. Like they've announced a lot of things. Some of them creatively bankrupt, and some of them are kind of interesting. Some of like big reshapings of lands, Villain Land, something we've been asking for years and years and years. I think there's one brand or IP in Disney's wheelhouse that is both simultaneously overrepresented and underrepresented. It's in a weird place, and that's Nightmare Before Christmas. Like we're inundated as in society with Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. It's been people's whole personalities. Like it's like you get into a certain type of year, and that's all anyone thinks about, like entertainment wise. I know Disneyland has the wonderful. It's one of my favorite things to do is the overlay of the Haunted Mansion. I love it, but it's an overlay. It's still Haunted Mansion. They do a few cool animatronics and things like that. But I think we are to a point where Disney's evolved, and they should do a Nightmare Before Christmas uh land or Halloween Town. I wouldn't even call it a land, I call it Halloween Town. Uh I think there's enough there. There's enough content there that I think you could do something that would be a spectacular draw. Like compete head to head with with Monsters Land at Epic. It's literally like it's like walking around what's the village name? I'm so sorry. What's the village name?
Darkmoor.
Walking around Darkmoor, I was thinking, wow, what a dream come true to get a Universal Monsters Land. And I'm like, holy shit, Disney should have done this already with Nightmare Before Christmas. Like this vibe, this is the vibe they should have had. It would have been Universal playing catch up to them, not Disney having to play catch up to Universal, because that is Haunted Mansion is not a parallel for what they're doing at Darkmoor or doing
Yeah,
at
no.
Epic Universe at all. It doesn't suggest or hint at what they're doing. Nightmare Before Christmas would be a direct shot across Universal's bow at the end of the day. I think that there's an ideal place for Halloween Town, and that is at Hollywood Studios. Not Animation Courtyard, but I think that Halloween Town, the footprint for that land, could take over the Indiana Jones stunt show. The what's the quick service called?
The Backlot Express.
Backlot Express. It could take over the old Jedi Temple that they do not run anymore, and it could take over Star Tours. Star Tours, as much as I love Star Tours needs to go if Disney wants Galaxy's Edge to have a resurgence. It's. I think that you need to transition. They're already starting to do that with the Millennium Falcon, with Smuggler's Run, and you can get multiple missions. But I think I think they need to get rid of Star Tours and then start refining the experiences within Galaxy's Edge more. Maybe adding that fabled third ride that they've talked about. They have that little like alcove for it or whatever. I think they need to contain Star Wars more in that area. But Nightmare Before Christmas could be a single ride, a restaurant, and shopping. Basically, or shoot, if you really felt like you had to compete with Epic, maybe a family coaster, like another like slightly smaller scale than Slinky Dog, and then a dark ride. Now, it's gonna kind of surprise you guys what I think the dark ride should be. I think the dark ride should be a mix between Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, or Roger Rabbit's, I think it's Cartoon Spin,
Cartoon Spin. You're right.
and Winnie the Pooh. The ride vehicles are the bathtub, and they move a little more violently, and they'll spin you to like they. It just needs to be a little more passionate of a movement, like than either of those rides.
Yeah.
So it needs to spin harder. It needs to have the same tone that Roger Rabbit have, the same darker tone that Roger Rabbit has, but it needs to have that sway. You know, I'm not like, I don't think it needs to be trackless. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Big animatronics, big scenes, projection, like to create, projections to create, you know, depth and scale. You could do a little bit of what Epic did with Monsters Unchained, and they using screens to make a bigger space. What they did with the Peter Pan ride overseas, I think you could do so much with it. But what would really, really, really blow people's minds? Do an original story. Do a continuation of the story. Bring back. They brought back Oogie in the video game. Maybe you ignore the video game canon because that is like the official sequel. The Oogie's Revenge is the official sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas. That's all we know of the story. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't like have some sort of Oogie like coming back. But you could make something so cool. And then during special events, you bring the Kingdom Hearts characters in their Nightmare Before Christmas costumes there as special meet and greets. it's just the possibilities for that land, the impact it would have, how dynamic you could make it, how many walk around characters you could create. And now they fixed Jack Skellington, the walker, the he's no longer a face character. He's got full animatronic face now. I don't know if you guys saw the update at Disneyland they're doing where he's
Hmm.
no longer the weird half face Jack Skellington.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just and then or forget a second ride, you could do the show. The castle show is hugely popular for the Halloween season with Jack as a host. Hugely popular. You could
Yeah.
do a show instead. You Just the possibility of that land is so great. And imagine you're like pulling into Hollywood Studios and you can kind of see Black Spire and you can kind of see some of the other things. But imagine you could see the Tim Burton, the Gothic
Like
uh
top of the house for
architecture.
Jack's house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's something that you could like something they could build relatively inexpensive because the whole Halloween town has the whole of Halloween town has like a um it's not super grandiose in scale,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it would be amazing. I think it would absolutely be incredible.
And to that point, so they do a Nightmare Before Christmas themed show at Jollywood Nights. Anyone who has not been to that, it's honestly the best like holiday themed show that Disney does now. Like for an extra ticket event, it's way better than the Christmas party at Magic Kingdom. But they turn the Disney Hyperion Theater in Hollywood Studios into this overlay. They get rid of Frozen, they put all types of overlays in, and they have like a 10-foot tall Jack Skellington puppet that comes out. And they could totally do that if they did an indoor theater show during the day, where like take over Indiana Jones. If they did like an indoor theater show during the day, they could totally put that special show during Christmas for Jollywood Nights in that theater.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of really good ideas with that. That's definitely, like you said, it's like one of those IPs that like they bank on with merchandise, but they don't do anything with it beyond that.
Yeah.
At least in Florida.
At least with Florida, yeah. Like you said, the overlay over in California, sure, but that's the extent of it that we've ever seen
Yeah.
as far as the parks go beyond merchandise. We're gonna save Ashland for the end. For me, mine is for Animal Kingdom. There's a few different things. Like obviously, we know there was a thing that Ash and I always talked about with Zootopia. We always thought that, which obviously they're doing overseas now. Well, already have it. That we thought that they could have like changed the train that takes you to the little petting zoo thing, turn that into the
Planet Watch.
train. Thank you. Turn that into the train to Zootopia, like a whole land, stuff like that. But let's take that out of the equation because it's already overseas. This is one of those like blue sky type of things because I know there's a lot of rights issues with the whole Marvel stuff on this side of the Mississippi because of the Universal contract, blah, blah, blah. Let's just take that out of the equation. I'm just going to talk like what if type of thing. Mine would be Wakanda for Animal Kingdom. I think you could do an entire land for that, like actually build like obviously not to complete scale type of thing with some of the buildings, stuff like that, but just kind of like the concepts of Wakanda. And like obviously you could have a really amazing ride and some cool meet and greets and stuff like that. There's just some really interesting ways, and they could still kind of use like I don't know if they'll ever actually get rid of the Planet Watch thing entirely because of like that's where they also take care of a lot of the animals and especially the smaller ones and stuff like that, and there's a lot of vet clinic type stuff going on back there. But if they were able to possibly move that to a different location and so incorporate like we said like the train, but maybe make it like some sort of ride vehicle that takes you into Wakanda, I think would be incredible. Maybe make it look kind of like on the inside at least like the one of the ships that they take in because they have to go through the make it like the ride vehicle that takes you into the Rise of the Resistance where you have like these little viewports that you can see and it's taking you through the barrier into Wakanda, and so you have that like fly down moment and boom, you've landed into Wakanda. Like make it really like intense and like fun interactive type of experience just to even get in there. that might be a logistical nightmare. I don't care. I'm just saying. But like I said, there's a lot of fun like character type stuff very easily that some sort of a ride could be done with Black Panther. It's such a within the Marvel like MCU continuity. It is such a like beloved like faction, if you will, of the MCU. Yes, I know some people like hit or miss with the whole like second Black Panther, but we've talked about this on this channel. It's not entirely that movie's fault for the overall situation that they were in that, but there's redeeming qualities to that movie for sure. Regardless of that, though, and regardless of what comes of, that character, whether they do end up like doing some sort of a recast or whatever happens, like, or if they keep Sherry on as the Black Panther as they set up for the second movie, regardless of what you want to do with that, even if you kind of take like a Marvel Island approach and it's disconnected from the movies itself and it's just like its own thing, so it's a different Black Panther and you just never have him take off the mask and stuff like that. You can go that route as well and just kind of distance yourself from what has been specifically done with the MCU, so you can kind of tell your own story a little bit. And of course, bring in the cultural type stuff that Animal Kingdom does really well. Make sure that you're tying that into the the cultural significance of that character and how it actually relates to the real world in Africa and things like that. So I think it's something that could very easily work within the sphere of that. And kind of, when they built Avatar, that breathed new life into Animal Kingdom, I would say. And it became the section of the park that never was, which is the mythical creatures area that was supposed to happen. And then this could be that next step in that, like you still hold on to what Animal Kingdom is, the conservation, the cultural integrity and things like that, but you find ways to modernize it, to revitalize interest and energy into the park and things like that. Unfortunately, we can't just always wait for another baby animal to be born to bring in people to the park and stuff like that. And it can't solely fall on like Avatar or even like people revisiting Expedition Everest. And I know that there is work being done in Animal Kingdom. They're doing like a massive overhaul with the whole dino area, which is like long overdue in my opinion, but that's still a ways off. So I think this is one of those things that could be another great step in that one as well. Now we're gonna end things off with Ashlyn, who apparently has like a big pitch for us. So, babe, what is it that you are thinking for the Disney parks? What is the next best step or big step for them?
Honestly, it's the next logical step. It's fixing some missteps with obviously a huge franchise for them that everyone's been asking for. And obviously with Epic coming out and Universal stepping up their game, and they're stepping up to the plate with Epic, and they're like, they put 10 toes in the sand, and they, as Steven likes to say, and they're like, we're okay. We're raising the bar. We're stepping to you, Disney. We're trying to be the next, raising the bar to Disney's level. So how
the next premier park? Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you going to call? Like, what is your next play? Because there is, as we've said, a lot of stuff, just all the Florida theme parks in general, whether it's Disney or Universal, there's updates that need to be done throughout all the parks and everything that exists currently. So, and they're trying to do that, but it's very hard to go in and reconceptualize existing theme parks and bring them to these new level of theme park standards. So I think the next logical step is obviously Disney needs a fifth gate. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. It's what's going to revitalize and bring people back to Disney. There's a lot of people that are very unhappy with Disney and a lot of the direction it's gone. And the franchise that I think is a no-brainer that's going to get people back to Disney it's Star Wars. It's the thing that everyone said that we've needed forever. Don't get me wrong, the concept of Galaxy's Edge is really great and it can stay. There's nothing wrong with Galaxy's Edge as it exists now. It's its own entity, but and then the misstep with the Star Wars hotel being for the ultra rich and everything like that, and eventually closing because of the way the concept was. And it just wasn't something that was feasible for the average American family, especially in today's economy. It failed spectacularly, unfortunately, and it was a really unique concept, but you could totally revisit that. As most Disney fans know, like 50% of the land is still undeveloped. There's so much room for expansion. We need a fifth park. It's not a question of if. It's we need it. And the next logical thing is just Star Wars across the board. I remember I shared concept art with the two of you, and I was like, if they did this, I would be there constantly. It's just such a unique thing. There's so many planets and worlds that they can expand on. I know, with Steven saying getting rid of Star Tours and the whole like Ewok area that is outside of Star Tours is my favorite part of Star Tours. I like the ride is kind of outdated. It's a different concept vehicle from a very different time. And I think we could 100% transition the Jedi Temple and bring back the trials and the interactiveness that was that show and just do it in an area of indoor. So you've got indoor, you've got Hoth. Like if you literally just Google Star Wars theme park concept art, there you go. This is literally all right here.
I do want to say real quick, I apologize. I do not have the artist's name for this. I would love to give credit. So if anyone knows who created this, please comment below. Let us know. I would love to give credit where credit is due. This is a really well done concept art of what a Star Wars theme park could look like. I think the most hilarious thing is the Death Star Epcot ball in the middle. That's just my opinion.
It's honestly so great though. I love it. It's so cool. Obviously like the indoor outpost is just so neat. In the back there, you've got like the big like satellite thing in the back. You've got obviously all the stuff with Hoth. I think the one that's probably the bit like the hardest buy is probably the Geonosian Amphitheater. I feel like that's probably a little bit more bite off than we can chew type thing as far as doing something with that. As far
I
as
don't know. As a Padme fan, that's peak Padme.
I know. I just like that's just a little bit too much to bite off. But I think honestly, like there are some high res images that you guys can go and look at that literally this person has broken down shops, food outlets, shows, the attractions, just the whole 9 yards. Like Andrew said, if anyone knows the artist's name, we'd love to give them credit because it's phenomenal. And then they, of course, we gotta have Naboo, me being a big Padme girl. With that, it's just amazing. All I want to see is Naboo in live action. And I really like the concept they did in that Naboo area because there's a huge water feature in the middle, a huge pond, and that would be your area to do all of your nighttime light shows and everything with water fountain features and things like that. It's like I said, it's the next logical step. And then you could do what Epic Universe did and build a hotel, direct access into that park. So you have your Star Wars themed hotel, direct access into the Star Wars theme park. Like,
let me ask you a question real quick. If it kind of went the way of like some of the ones like a Magic Kingdom or now like Epic Universe and stuff like that, and it had to be limited to, let's say, 5 worlds.
yeah.
What 5 worlds would you like? I know Epic right now is 4, but it's more. It's going to be 6, but I'm going to limit it to 5.
5.
That it has to be. What 5 do you think would need to be on that list?
Indoor, for sure. Obviously Naboo. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think you can't do Star Wars without Naboo. As much as I don't want it because it's kind of lazy, you have to do Tatooine,
You
even
have
though
to.
nobody freaking cares about Tatooine. It's
Whoa,
like
calm down now. You're gonna hurt somebody's feelings.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just we keep going back. That's my problem with Tatooine.
But
There's nothing
Tatooine
there.
it's integral Star Wars. It is what
It's
it is.
integral Star Wars. We have to have it.
Steven, you're muted.
They switched to Jakku, so it's all good now. Like it's
know.
different
It's like
Tatooine.
Jakku is just Tatooine for the sequels.
These
Like
stupid desert planets. Like
I want to say that you're really missing the mark. Mustafar barbecue restaurant.
no, that was gonna be so like what she said.
Yeah.
Endor, Tatooine, Naboo, Hoth, and Mustafar are my.
Those are my 5 too. I feel like what the person did in the concept art with Coruscant, like being the main walkthrough for the city-state up to the Death Star, is really cool. It would just be so hard to do because like everything with Coruscant is like the damn planet has like 50 levels to it. So trying to do those very high states and stuff like that would be I'd be worried it would come off kind of cheesy the way that like Superhero Island is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the level of force perspection that would be needed, it would not translate to what is necessary for Coruscant, which is why I think that's one of the ones that has to be exempt from
Yeah.
that.
I wouldn't want to be critical of the artist at all because like this is really really cool, but I think there's an kind of an obvious choice is the parade route they take at the end of episode 1 should be the entrance, like the Naboo parade, like
Yeah.
That's a good one.
that was already built like a main street ready to go, and they could do a victory parade like every hour for beating back the droid army. Yeah, I think as far as like blue sky and like if money was unlimited and you could just pick, this is so cool. Do you think there's any the artist rendering is obviously like brilliant. Like it'd be so cool if we could get this as fans. What do you think if they ever were to announce that they were doing this? What do you think we would actually get? Like what is a realistic version? Because again, the art is incredible,
Yeah.
but it's not realistic. It's not what Disney would not spend the money to make this. They would not do. I would be shocked if Disney considers Naboo an essential planet over. I think we'd get Dagobah before we get Naboo. I think we'd get Kashyyyk before we got Naboo. I think we would get Geonosis before we got Naboo because they could do a droid. The droid factory could be there. The droid factory we have is designed after like a small scale version of the conveyors and stuff of Geonosis droid factory. So what's like a realistic version of this idea? Like if they did a Star Wars theme park, what would they actually do? And I know we don't need to go into every aspect of it, but would it be just Tatooine? Like, and then you have little option. That's actually what I think. That's something they'd be like. That's what they want. They want Tatooine. They want moisture farms. They want banthas. They want actually, Sarlacc pit show would be really sick. Like Jabba Sail barge and like the like acrobats jumping into the Sarlacc, a Cirque du Soleil with the Sarlacc pit.
I
But
mean,
but do they have
work in
I'm
like
sorry,
an
go ahead.
Indiana Jones type style show with the Sarlacc pit? I could see that.
Phenomenal. Yeah, let's do it. Let's pitch it to them directly. Or are you gonna say it? Sorry.
If we're doing Tatooine, even like this is the thing about like if a park like this existed versus the Galaxy's Edge thing, take the whole timeline thing out of it. Take it out of the whole. It has to be within this time frame, which they're already starting to back off that as we've seen now that they're starting to incorporate some of these like ancillary stories that have to do between 6 and 7, as far as like Smuggler's Run and stuff like that, and characters and so on. But you take all that out of it, so you could incorporate things from most factions of not everything, but most factions, especially from like the first 6 movies and things like that. So like Tatooine, do you do like a pod racing ride? Like is that something like
that'd be neat?
That's a fun one.
They should do that now. Forget everything else I said. Just put it at Galaxy's Edge, please.
You do something like that. Like, yeah, I understand what you mean, Steven. I do push back that I do think they would do Endor over Kashyyyk, because you
Oh,
can't.
I mean, Indoor was a lock in. I'm saying
Yeah.
Naboo. They would do Naboo would not be done over as much. I agree with Ashlyn. Naboo's a really cool location. If they were going to do Naboo, it would be that probably that entrance
Mhm.
concept and just the building style because it just matches that.
Yeah.
Which I would love a Naboo, like a real life Naboo as well. Like
You know what's
I'd
funny
want
is,
reactor room where the fates took place. I'd want all that stuff. But you're not gonna. Disney will not do it over a planet full of Wookiees. The chance to put a bunch of people in costume.
mhm.
Yoda can be there too if there were canon's not if we're not doing it canonically like same
Well,
time
because for
frame.
Dagobah, you could literally. So the way I see this going is if they wanted to jam as much as they could into it,
Mhm.
right? Versus
Mhm.
having like the 5 large lands as they would Disneyland style it, where there's like just shit everywhere, you know?
But
And
see,
so you could
Dagobah.
literally just do the Dagobah hut because there's nothing else there to do. So you could literally be like indoor Dagobah hut, Kashyyyk. Like,
To be fair, they could put the Dagobah hut in the forest underneath the Skyliner, and because it's built in an effing swamp. Disney
yeah.
World is already in Dagobah, real life Dagobah. The temperature, the wildlife,
Like,
the little green people running around. Yes, it is already here.
I've got it. Like, it's completely separated from everything, but that little island in front of Magic Kingdom, you just put the hut right there on that, on that
Hell
island.
yeah! And then you wait for somebody to like urban explore and to try to get over there to see. It's an attractive nuisance. Like their liability will get shoot way up. Um, I I cannot honestly say that I if they announced the fifth gate and they were like it's going to be just Star Wars, I would be like my mind would not be racing about how all the great things they could do. It would be racing with all the
the
ways they
ways
could
they
mess
would
it up.
ruin it.
And the fact that they're not doing, I'd be like, you're going to spend $10 billion or whatever. How much did they spend on Epic? It was it was
It
like
was
was it ten
billions with
billion?
a B.
But it
Billions
wasn't
with
like Galaxy's Edge was 2 billion to build Galaxy's Edge, $2 billion to build it, just to build it, not development. So I thought Epic was like 10 between 10
Epic
and
was
20
8.
billion.
It was 8 billion was
Eight
the last
billion.
figure
Okay.
I heard for Epic.
That's not actually that in the grand scheme of things. That's not that bad in the grand
Yeah.
scheme. But this theme park to build a Star Wars theme park, you were looking at tens of billions to build
Yeah.
it and do it justice. If they announced it, I would be like, just do Galaxy's Edge. Just put $1 billion into a new attraction for Galaxy's Edge. Just build something. Don't abandon this experience that the three of us, however we feel about modern Star Wars, and we all have varying opinions. The three of us at certain points have loved the Galaxy's Edge experience. All three have been
Mhm.
very like have been in enchanted by it. It's worn off because they haven't really. It's like it kind of got old a little faster than I thought it would for me personally. But if they took so say they said Ashlyn, we're going to do whatever you want and they did Naboo. So forget my concept. If they did Naboo right next to Galaxy's Edge, and they say, "Hey, we're just going to put Naboo. It's going to be mostly a walkthrough attraction with the gardens and sceneries from the movie, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
do like meet and greet with Anakin and Padme." I'd be like, "Sold. Good use of money." I'd be like, "That sounds neat." Like, I would go look at it. I would
Yeah.
go look. I love the waterfall. Like, look what they did with. To your point, like, look what they did with Pandora. Like that
Yeah.
whole Pandora that's not a huge area. That whole like what we see with the forest and stuff. They
Yeah.
could do that for Naboo and have the waterfall, like the weird rolly wheel waterfall at the top that they do for Avatar. Um, but yeah, I would be totally wondering like why. And I think at the end of the day, we probably have a really good idea of how they would handle it. It's what they did with Black Spire. I think if they were going to do a Star Wars land, they would have a central hub would be an original place. We would do the theming, everything. They would. I don't think they would ever do something as cool as a Death Star Spaceship Earth. I would be so geek. I wouldn't care that it's on stilts or however they had to do it. I
Yeah.
would just want. I would be like, okay, if we're doing that, I want a giant drone of Cloud City floating in the clouds that looks like it's up. I would want them to go so kids' birthday party with how they designed it. Just go nuts, like lose your
Yeah.
mind. You're a full European park, but I do think they would be. It would be something akin to you're at Black Spire Outpost, and then you're going to go through. Now we're doing portals. Everything's a portal now.
Yeah.
You're going through different. You know,
That would be
actually, it
kind
would
of
work
cool
really
though,
well for
like
Star Wars.
hyperspace portals. Like you go through the portal and it's got the hyperspace lights and do like the sound effects and stuff. That would be kind
They
of
should
cool.
they should hire us to. We kind of get that with Super Mario's portal is a little bit
That's
like
what I'm talking
like
about.
that.
Like take the Super Mario approach, but do it hyperspace portals, and that's how you make it through to each land and everything like that, or to
They
each
should straight up
world, to planet.
They should straight up just do warp pipes from Mario in Star Wars, the Star Wars theme park. Just straight up. We would all millennials would accept it. Like, that's how you get to other lands. We go to Tatooine and they make all the Mario noises.
They do technically allude to that like in the movie. So it kind of seemed that way.
I would
Let me just say real quick before
mm-hmm.
we wrap up, because we're at an hour here. I was just gonna say the funny thing is I was thinking about with Epic in comparison to this is I actually think that the way that they did Celestial Park would be a really good groundwork for how they could make Naboo happen.
It does look like Naboo.
I think, and now like we're joking about the portals thing, and now I'm talking about Celestial Park. Like obviously, it's not the whole like oh, you can copy my homework. Make sure you change enough so it looks like it's not the same paper.
That's what they do.
Like let's not do that too much. But I'm just saying that's a really interesting concept, like how you could make that work in a theme park, but you would arguably have to make it a large space like Celestial Park is, and they're probably unfortunately not going to do that specifically with Naboo. But obviously we've been talking about everything here. A lot of this is blue sky type of thing, like we love some things are definitely closer to coming to fruition or being in the realm of reality than others. But we'd love to see any, if not all of this happen at one point or another. But we want to hear from you guys what your thoughts on this. What would you want to see from Universal, Disney, or any of the other theme parks, whether here in Orlando or beyond? What kind of things do you want to see happen, moving forward? So be sure to comment below, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and of course here on YouTube at Retroactive POD. You can follow me at all social media at Andrew is Losing. Ashlyn, let the people know where they can find you.
You guys can find me at BookBrat90 on Instagram, TikTok, pretty much all social media.
And Steven, are you still at the McDonald's at Dale Mabry, or did you move?
No, you can find me at the Star Wars theme park in my dreams, like going, listen, I don't even need to ride in that Death Star. That's what I want the hotel to be. I want the hotel to be in the Death Star.
Oh my God.
I want to be able to fire. I want to be able to destroy, like shoot it at the lands. It can just be a big green light. I don't care.
That's
hilarious. But as long as Ashlyn's in charge of developing it. But yeah, you can find me at this, not that it matters, but that's where I'm at. Not at the McDonald's in Dale Mabry.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be sure to subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.